I want to talk a little bit about autism. I'm pretty sure I have some form of it already, although I haven't gotten tested or anything, but I know people who are. I share the hatred of certain textures like bananas by themselves or unfinished wood. But the wood is mostly from my childhood and getting so many splinters. But what people seem to not understand is that most autistic people, in my experience, are simply navigating the world in a different way, with different needs, sensitivities, and strengths. To me, autism is a way that Mother Nature or Mother Gaia, whichever you prefer, shows us that we need to be more sensitive, more caring, more nurturing. We need to start paying attention to what our actions and words do to other people, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually even. Mentally, because it can be confusing navigating a world that is hard to understand and keep up with and keep track of. Physically, because some autistic people need physical support of some kind or are abused by their parents simply because they don't understand something. Emotionally, because when you feel out of place, that can cause anxiety, hyperfixation on things, such as listening to what someone says and constantly flipping it over in your head during a conversation to make sure you understood it right, and so that you can accurately respond back. Some autistic people can also suffer from depression and sometimes SI thoughts, among other mental health issues. I also included spirituality too, because if you grow up in a high demand religion like Mormonism, like I did, you can grow up thinking something is wrong with you from the start of your life, making it difficult to see yourself as someone worthy of love in the eyes of whatever deity you worship, when it's clear that just trying to fit in won't be able to happen as easily as others. That was my experience. What I mean by all of this is that autism isn't the problem. What the problem actually is that we don't allow people to express the most natural versions of humanity without being shunned, ridiculed, bullied, or killed in some cases. Simply for being who they are. So when someone says, "What's wrong with him, her, or them? Are they autistic?" in a sarcastic way, that can really hurt someone who is actually autistic and make them afraid of expressing their unmasked selves. Most people with autism, in my experience, take your words at face value. So when you say something like, quote, "Can you go to the store for me?" unquote, to your partner, for instance, and they ask you, "What exactly do you need from the store?" and then you get annoyed that they haven't noticed things that you're out of in the kitchen. That's just basic communication. You can't expect anyone, autistic or not, to read your mind on what is needed. People with autism just need more direction, that's all. It's a way to show how your communication is lacking in certain ways. It's not meant to be frustrating. It's a way to help soften the hearts of humanity through Mother Gaia or Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it. At least that's how I think of it. You don't need to be spiritual to understand what I'm saying here. If you remember the movie Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman, there's a scene where they're playing blackjack in Vegas, and Raymond, aka Rain Man, says there's lots of queens. And Charlie, aka Tom, says he doesn't want to hit for more cards, thinking he doesn't understand how the game works, when in fact he definitely does. He just doesn't look like it, according to Charlie. But thankfully, Charlie trusts him, and they win money because he decided to trust him instead of telling him how to act or what to do. Society hasn't fully embraced all of the ways of human expression that can happen, and we haven't created the right resources to make that easier for everyone, including remote jobs for those of us who prefer to work at home, and making that easier for all of us to access, or healthcare or mental health clinics that can help diagnose something instead of wondering all of their lives if something is wrong with them, because they can't keep up with all the constant wishy-washy things that neurotypical people tend to say and then do the opposite of. You can see how confusing that can be. No one knows why autism is becoming more apparent in our experience in this life. There's no cure, and quite honestly, there shouldn't be. unless they really need it or want it for themselves, just like anyone else. With what's going on with this administration right now, however, where misinformation about Tylenol leading to autism or all of these other weird associations with autism, that only makes life harder for both autistic people and those who love and care for them, such as friends, family, and partners and their own children. I personally think, and you can think whatever you want, but I think that autistic people are here to show us how to be kinder, how to research, how to have more fun in life, how to communicate more effectively, and how to support those who need a little more guidance, instead of just throwing them to the wolves and saying, oh, you'll get there. As an example, wouldn't you want a GPS that updated the direction on a hike in the middle of summer, instead of having to pull out a map and wonder where the hell you should go because you're starting to feel dehydrated and you have to start rationing your water and you forgot to put on sunscreen? Yes, you would. That ration of water is similar to the energy that someone puts into trying to mask in society or trying to understand those simple instructions that you gave them. They only have so much energy, and when it's out, they need to recharge, sometimes more than neurotypical people. There's a spoon analogy for a reason. Another thing is that trans people are more likely to have autism of some sort, or ADHD, whichever, or both. It really just depends on the person, according to some researchers. I think in that particular manifestation of humanity, we trans people are here to show what it's like to have balance again, within and without. To show how to have healthy masculinity and healthy femininity, and what happens when we fully accept ourselves as we are inside and let that come out to in whatever way that is. I'm not saying that all trans people are good examples of this, but I think being who we are has a reason that we are this way. One that's a bigger picture element. It's one physical way that God, spirit, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, is showing us like a big neon sign saying, hey, you've forgotten how to be human, so let me show you. And it's in a way that is almost never accusatory. It's always in the form of the people around you. It's the skill in observation and learning and integrating information that has become warped in some way through miscommunication, misinformation, and fear. With that being said, maybe autistic people aren't here to be fixed. Maybe they're here to remind us of the parts of humanity we've forgotten. Which is a big reason why this channel exists anyway. I'm trying to show humanity the things we've forgotten and how to come together again in a way that respects themselves and those around them. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for people to see themselves in one another, to love themselves and the world we all live in together. Remember in Forrest Gump, Forrest did all the things that people said he couldn't do. He was a soldier, he was a runner, he was a lover, and he loved people, most of all. And chocolate. The quote from Forrest in that movie is important here too, I think. Quote, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Unquote. Even though it's past tense, it still resonates with viewers today. It speaks to the unpredictability of life and surprises. It speaks to a much higher vision too. You never know what set of circumstances you'll be born into. Sometimes you get the good part, and sometimes you get the bad part. And sometimes you get something in the middle. Or anywhere on the spectrum of what we perceive to be good and bad. We always forget the gray area. The strawberry flavored chocolate, or the mint flavored one, or the straight up out of date one that crumbles at the touch and tastes like dirt. Much can be equated to life itself, but it goes to show that sometimes there's things you don't have control over, and you never will. much like sexuality, gender, sex, or what you get to experience in that life. But you get to experience all the types of chocolate flavors ever when you let yourself explore and see things from another perspective. So why only limit yourself to one type of chocolate? One type of perspective? Start with one perspective and see where that takes you. Look up the history of Black people in the US, or the history of the Irish, or whatever you want to research in the world. But make it fun. Make it easy for yourself. There's plenty of tools in the toolbox if you just allow yourself to see almost everything in life as a tool to improve it. But you have to keep yourself and everyone around you in mind. You can't do things and expect people to be okay with things if it puts someone else at risk. It ripples outward. I don't know how else to show you how true that is. But you have to find it for yourself. It's not something that is easily explained in one video or another, or one perspective. We just have to see each other as human first. Everything else second. In order to get to that point. Above all else. With that being said, keep your mind and your heart open. Peace.